Hey everyone, Nigel and Luke here, and welcome to another edition of Crimes of the Week International. Authorities in Ukraine say that at least 8 people have been arrested this week after they tried to steal a mural by one of the world's most famous graffiti artists off the wall of a building. According to reports, the mural was one of several created by the anonymous British artist Banksy last month. Each of the paintings was done on buildings that had been badly hit by shelling from the Russian invasion, and were specifically left in areas of Ukraine that had been most devastated by the war. This particular mural was of a woman in a gas mask holding a fire extinguisher and had been painted on a building in the city of Hostomel, located in the northwestern suburbs of the capital of Kyiv. According to police, the suspects attempted to steal the artwork by cutting the section of board and plaster it was painted on from the side of the building wall. Though they were apparently successful in removing the mural, they didn't make it very far. Authorities say that several people were arrested at the scene, and a total of 8 people believed to be involved are now in custody. Almost no information has been released about the suspects, other than that they are between the ages of 27 and 60. Authorities say that the mural is now in their possession and is undamaged. The remaining murals are also now being placed under police protection. In the aftermath of the incident, the governor of Kyiv region took to social media to discuss the importance of the artwork, saying, quote, "These images are, after all, symbols of our struggle against the enemy. These are stories about the support and solidarity of the entire civilized world with Ukraine. We'll do everything to preserve these works of street art as a symbol of our victory." Motorists in Taiwan's Changhua County were recently treated to quite the bizarre sight on a local highway when a man was spotted casually driving with a large traffic sign protruding from the hood of his SUV. According to police, the incident began sometime last week when multiple people began uploading strange video clips of the vehicle driving southbound on Provincial Highway 74. At first, many people didn't know what to make of it. Was it really a traffic sign sticking out of the man's SUV? Or was this some sort of bizarre and unknown vehicle accessory? The debates continued for a while, until another bit of video footage was uploaded, this time from neighboring Taichung city. The footage was taken from a surveillance camera on the outside of a building and appeared to show the same SUV driver as he crashed into a traffic divider just before the on-ramp to Highway 74. After slamming into the divider, the SUV could be seen sitting there for a few seconds before slowly reversing. However, when it did so, it took the entire traffic divider sign with it. The video finished with the SUV driver getting onto the on-ramp with the traffic sign still stuck to his vehicle. While it's unclear if police started investigating the situation following the emergence of the video clips, this was ultimately rendered unnecessary on December 2nd, when an embarrassed 71-year-old man showed up at a police station in Taichung City to explain what had happened. The man, who was identified only by the last name Lai, explained that he had been on his way home in the late afternoon at the time of the accident when he had been blinded by the sun. He said that after he struck the traffic divider, he panicked, and not knowing what to do, he decided to just continue driving home with the thing mounted to the hood of his SUV. While authorities say Lai won't be facing any criminal charges for the incident, he's still looking at a couple of fines. They say that he faces a fine of up to 3,000 new Taiwan dollars, or about $100 US for leaving the scene of an accident, and a further 24,000 new Taiwan dollars, or roughly $800 US for dangerous driving. Authorities in Western Australia say that a 51-year-old woman is dead this week after she was allegedly murdered by her estranged husband. The incident began sometime after 8:30 p.m. on December 5th, when terrified residents in the Perth suburb of Lansdale called police with disturbing reports. Neighbors of 51-year-old Lynn Cannon claimed that they had heard screams coming from her Hardcastle Avenue property, and that there were other obvious signs of a disturbance there. Before police could arrive at the scene, they also began receiving calls from several of Lynn's family members, who said that they were concerned for her safety. Though officers made it to the home in just minutes, sadly, it was too late. Lynn was found dead somewhere on the property just before 9 p.m. A short time later, a man was removed from the home under heavy restraint and apparently suffering from serious self-inflicted injuries. The man was subsequently identified as Lynn's estranged husband, 55-year-old Paul Anthony Cannon. Police say that Cannon has now been charged with murder and is still in the hospital where he is recovering under police guard. While few additional details have been released about the case at the current time, there are unconfirmed reports that Lynn died from multiple stab wounds. Further reports state that she and Cannon had been separated for more than 2 years prior to the tragic killing. At the time of this recording, the investigation continues. Authorities in the Indian state of Uttar Pradesh say that a 22-year-old woman and a 28-year-old man are facing murder charges this week after they allegedly tried to fake the 22-year-old's death by killing another woman as part of a convoluted and combined marriage and revenge plot. According to reports, it all started in the middle of November of this year, when a young woman's body was found at a home in the city of Greater Noida. The woman's wrists had been cut and her face had been disfigured, and it appeared that she had left behind a note. The note explained that she had taken her own life, and in it, the woman had identified herself as 22-year-old Payal Bhatti. While police initially had no reason to doubt the circumstances surrounding the death, that began to change a few days later, when evidence emerged linking the case to that of a missing woman in the local area named Hema Chaudhry. Hema had been reported missing by her family on November 12th when she failed to return home from her job at the Gower City Mall. Not only was she the same approximate age and height as Payal Bhatti, but she reportedly bore a decent resemblance to her as well, and had gone missing shortly before Payal's body was found. However, it was Hema's cell phone records that proved to be the conclusive link between the cases. When investigators looked at these records, they learned that shortly before her disappearance, Hema had received several calls from 28-year-old AJ Thacker, who just so happened to be Payal Bhatti's boyfriend. With this information in hand, police tracked down AJ for questioning. When they did, they not only found him, but discovered Payal alive and well. In fact, the couple had gotten married about 2 weeks after Payal was supposed to have died, and were now living in a city about 20 miles east of Greater Noida. According to police, both AJ and Payal cracked under subsequent questioning. Authorities now allege that prior to Hema's disappearance, the couple befriended her for the express purpose of killing her and trying to fake Payal's death. They reportedly chose Hema because of her resemblance to Payal, tying her up and murdering her after luring her to the crime scene. They disfigured her face, dressed her up in Payal's clothes, and left the note behind to further sell the idea that Payal had taken her own life. While this is all horrifying enough on its own, police claim that it's only part of the story. While some of the reason the couple allegedly carried out the murder was so that they could elope without their families knowing, investigators say that it was also part of an even greater revenge plan. According to authorities, it started earlier this year when Payal's brother took a large loan from one of their cousins and his in-laws. When he was unable to pay it back, it reportedly led to extreme financial pressure being put on Payal's parents, who ended up tragically taking their own lives in May. Police said that Payal wanted revenge, particularly against her cousin for this, and was plotting to murder the cousin as well, using her faked death as cover to get away with the crime. At the time of this recording, it's unclear how much of these allegations authorities are able to prove, though it appears that at the very least, Payal and AJ are on the hook for Hema's murder. They both remain in police custody, and the investigation continues. Authorities in the Guatemalan capital have released a tragic update in the case of a 27-year-old local hip-hop artist this week, announcing that her remains had been discovered following a multi-day search. According to reports, 27-year-old Nesli Monterroso was reported missing on December 2nd after having last been seen leaving an office that she owned in Guatemala City. A search effort was launched, however no trace of the rapper could be found. That apparently changed 3 days later when residents in Zone 3, located in the capital's western core, called authorities to report a suspicious vehicle. The vehicle had been left abandoned and without license plates at the side of the road. When officers from the National Civil Police were sent to the scene to investigate, they opened up the car's trunk. There, they discovered a barrel, which had been secured shut with rope. Inside were Nesli's remains. While authorities have so far revealed that the musician died of a strong blow to the head, other details of the case have not been confirmed. These include claims from local residents that the 27-year-old suffered extreme violence prior to her death, and that her remains were found dismembered inside the barrel. A further unconfirmed claim is that police found an unknown liquid inside the barrel as well. The news of Nesli's horrific death has reportedly prompted an outpouring of grief from her online followers, many of whom are now leaving tributes to the musician's life on her social media pages. At the time of this recording, no suspects have been named in connection with the brutal killing, and police say that the motive behind the crime is still under investigation. Representatives from England's National Police Air Service are thanking an unlikely group of helpers this week after they provided quite the unexpected assist in catching a wanted fugitive. While it's unclear exactly when the incident took place, news of the unusual arrest only broke this week when footage of it was posted by the NPAS to their Southwest Region Twitter account. According to reports, the situation began when Devon and Cornwall police called in helicopter backup from the NPAS while chasing a male fugitive somewhere in a rural part of the county of Devon. The chase took place at night, meaning that police were relying on the helicopter's thermal imagery cameras to supply information about the suspect's whereabouts from above and coordinate with officers on the ground. While these tools certainly aided in the search, apparently things got even easier when the pilot of the helicopter noticed a large area of movement coming from a field. It turned out that this was the fugitive, who was trying to walk away across the field while being pursued by a herd of cows. The cows kept trailing the man until he got to a nearby roadway. However, by this time, the helicopter pilot had been able to give directions to the other officers, who were able to head him off at the edge of the field. When an officer from the Devon and Cornwall police radioed to the helicopter to say thank you for the assist, he replied, "Thank the cows." Understandably, after the footage of the strange incident was posted this week, it inspired countless cow puns from amused commenters. One Twitter user replied, quote, "Trying to escape? How dare he?" While another quipped that the suspect would now have to face the music. The NPAS, meanwhile, chimed in once again, saying, quote, "It was a high-stakes incident. He was told to stop running, but it clearly went in one ear and out the other." At the time of this recording, police have not revealed the fugitive's name or what he was wanted for. Authorities in the German state of Baden-Württemberg say that one teenage girl is dead this week and another has been hospitalized following a knife attack. According to reports, the incident took place on the morning of December 5th in the town of Illerkirchberg, located about 75 miles west of Munich. The 14-year-old and 13-year-old female victims were reportedly on their way to school when they were attacked by the 27-year-old suspect, who was allegedly armed with a knife. The man reportedly fled into a nearby refugee center after carrying out the attack. Though police quickly arrived at the scene and rushed both of the teenage victims to the hospital, sadly, the 14-year-old girl could not be saved. She was pronounced dead a short time later. The 13-year-old was seriously injured, but is said to be in stable condition. As for the 27-year-old suspect, he was reportedly tracked down soon after police responded to the scene. He also required treatment for serious knife wounds, though remains in custody. He has been identified only as an asylum seeker from Eritrea. Neither of the victims have been identified due to their age, but it's said that both are German citizens. The 14-year-old victim's family is said to be originally from Turkey. At the time of this recording, authorities have released almost no additional details about the crime, though have cautioned the public from jumping to conclusions about the 27-year-old suspect's motivations. They say that no evidence for a religious or political motive has yet been uncovered, but that they are still investigating this, along with any potential history of mental health issues. The situation is still developing. Authorities in the Argentine province of Mendoza say that a 31-year-old woman has been sentenced to life in prison this week after she was convicted of the chilling murders of her husband and stepson. According to reports, the whole thing began on February 7th of last year, when emergency responders in the small city of Nueva, just east of the provincial capital, were called to the home of 35-year-old Rolando Aquino. The call had been placed by Rolando's wife, Karen Oviedo, who said that her husband had passed out after suffering severe stomach pains and a bout of intense vomiting. Though Rolando was rushed to a nearby hospital, sadly, he would never recover. Just 2 days later, he was pronounced dead. Rolando's sudden death came as a huge surprise to those that knew him. Before that, he had appeared perfectly healthy and had never complained of any medical issues. The death was bizarre enough that police requested an autopsy. What they found was extremely disturbing. It turned out that Rolando had been poisoned. More specifically, he had ingested a fatal dose of ethylene glycol, a compound commonly found in automotive antifreeze. What was worse, police soon realized, though, was that Rolando might not have been the first victim. You see, for Rolando's family, his sudden death brought back memories of another recent family tragedy, the death of his 9-year-old son Elias. The boy had also passed away suddenly and mysteriously in July of 2019. In addition to the similarities in how both the father and son had died, there was one other glaringly obvious common factor: Karen Oviedo, Rolando's wife and Elias's stepmother. While it had always seemed suspicious to Elias's birth mother how her son had suddenly died in Oviedo's care when he had been perfectly healthy beforehand, as the investigation formally turned towards the stepmother, she started to remember other red flags. The biggest of all was how Oviedo had pushed extremely hard to get her to cremate the boy's body following his death. Thankfully, the mother hadn't listened. This meant the police were able to exhume Elias's body for testing, which revealed the horrifying truth. He had also been poisoned with ethylene glycol. Though Oviedo denied any involvement in either her husband or stepson's deaths following her arrest in February of this year, further investigation continued to strengthen the case against her. The final blow came when authorities collected Google search data taken from her cell phone. It turned out that she had queried a number of incriminating phrases, including "what is the most lethal poison?", "how to kill with poison?", "how to eliminate poison?", and most damningly, ethylene glycol. On December 1st, Karen Oviedo was convicted on a variety of charges, including homicide and aggravated homicide. She was sentenced to life in prison. Before we wrap up, we'd like to take a minute to thank our amazing supporters over on Patreon. As many of you are aware, our situation on YouTube always seems to be a bit uncertain, but our patrons help to ensure that we can continue to make content like this long term without having to worry as much about what surprises might be thrown our way. Plus, patrons also get access to 4 additional stories per week for each of our Crimes of the Week and Crimes of the Week International videos. If you'd like to help support the channel directly, head over to patreon.com/crimezone to join. You can also find that link in the description below. As always, thank you so much for watching, and take care.